Hi guys, it's obviously Mrs. Kelsey here, and I am having a lot of fun today learning how to use this tool to make teaching videos for you as we are in online school. So bear with me, and hopefully I can do more and more of these to help you out. So what we're going to do is we are going to start by breaking down the first internal that you are working on at the moment about the addictive behavior and your particular addiction. And the internal is called I'm Hooked. And the title of it is Examine Different Psychological Approaches Used to Explain a Behavior. And what we have asked you to do, I've put this on your Google Stream, is to pick an addiction, an addictive behavior, and to examine three different psychological approaches that would be used to explain this addiction. Okay, that's the first thing that you need to do. So what we've asked you to do with it, though, is to pick up a story, a case study, a famous person who has been addicted in their time. So the first thing I'm going to do is to show you the beginning of your work and what that would look like. Okay, so I'm going to get my arrow. I'm going to practice using this. Okay, so choosing a celebrity, and that could be a criminal, a film star, a politician who had the addiction that you're writing about. And what I'm going to show you first is the detail that you need to put in for the beginning opening of your assessment. So absolutely you can have pictures, just like these people do. There's a picture of Kurt Cobain down here, picture of Drew Barrymore's on this particular assessment, okay, and on this one, that's the one about Drew Barrymore again. So it's important that you have a look at what kind of detail you need in your opening section of your assessment, okay. It's really important that we have things like dates, okay, we have names of people, parents or wives or children or things that are important, that there is some kind of timeline. So here you see with Kurt Cobain, he was born, okay, all about his childhood. So that whole first paragraph is about his childhood. Okay, the second paragraph is about the beginning of his band, and then the third one about his marriage and death at the end. So the paragraphs very much going through the timeline of your particular celebrity's existence. And some of your celebrities may still be alive, as is the case with Drew Barrymore. Now, what detail are you going to pick? Because if you look up Kurt Cobain, you will find hundreds and thousands of pages on Wikipedia, Google about Kurt Cobain. And you'll probably find the same for most of the people that you've chosen. So the detail that you want to pick is detail that you can go back to and use for either the biological, the behavioral or cognitive or social, psychodynamic approaches, whichever you choose to use. So for example, here, if we come to this student's description of Kurt Cobain, she has picked out he had a happy childhood before his parents divorced. And that's really important because that's something that she can come back to and talk about the effect of divorce. Anger became an everyday part of his life, okay, and the emotional trauma that he suffered became a catalyst for most of his later music. So that's another really important point that this student is using about things that might have happened or how his behavior changed or altered. He became more angry. That may well have led to the drug use later on. Then we have here another piece of information that's quite useful, that Kurt Cobain himself used to use drugs when he was a young boy. And again, that's something that the student can go back to and use when they're looking at the biological or the social approach. Then we have the beginning of the music and the band and the records. And this is another really important point that the student has highlighted, and that is the point at which Kurt Cobain became famous, because becoming famous is something that puts a lot of pressure on people. And so this can be something that the student can go back to when they are evaluating the addictive behavior through a particular approach. Then we have the marriage, okay, and the beginning of the the birth of his daughter. Next year is the release of Nirvana's last studio album. Then we have an important statement. Cobain suffered from both depression and chronic stomach pain, and he used drugs to treat them. So this is another really important point where the student can talk about the impact of depression, okay, and look at it from either a biological or a social or behaviorist approach. He was a frequent user of heroin after Nirvana's rise to worldwide fame, and he used a range of painkillers to numb his stomach pain. So again, a really interesting piece of information, again, about Nirvana's rise to worldwide fame. So you could talk about the fame and the way that that has had its impact, or the frequent use of heroin, okay, as the drug itself, and so how that might have got hold of him biologically, or in fact just through the music world, the socialization, the behavioral approach. The hospitalization was later recorded as a suicide attempt. A month after the incident in Rome, he snuck out of a treatment center. So here again, somebody's trying to treat his addiction, and returned to his home, Seattle, where he shot himself and died. And this was seen as a significant event. And so what this student has done by putting this kind of detail together is allowed herself to be able to look at the biological, behavioral, and one other approach, and then evaluate how well those approaches. This case could be seen, the idea of drug addiction could be seen through these approaches. Okay, so the first job you need to do is to put this kind of information together about the person that you have chosen. A photograph would be great. This student's got photographs: little girl lost, no happy ending, Barrymore's struggle. Okay, so we've got here magazine articles about Barrymore's addictions. And here's one of our students from our class who's talking about Whitney Houston, and she's got a lovely photograph of her there. Okay, and you'll notice at the bottom that this student has been really good about putting in all the resources: biography.com, Britannica.com, Biography Britannica. Notice the famous people profiles, that she's not used Wikipedia. So it's really important that you think about where you are getting your research from, and you can have a look at some of these sites, and then you must document them at the end of your piece or at the bottom of the page, and I will show you how to do that. So what you can do is, as you're writing, you go up to insert, okay, and footnote here, which mine isn't on because this is not my document. You click on footnote and it will put a 1 here, and it will put a 1 down here, and then you need to type in, or you could control and paste the link that you are using, okay? Or you can do Control Alt and F where you want to put the footnote, and again it will put the 1 there. You do not need to type the 1, 2, 3, 4. The footnote app will do that for you as you go through, okay? So first job is to do that. Some of you already done it, so you'll need to watch the next videos on the next thing that you need to do. Okay guys, all coming soon.